If you want to make more money right now, what do? Work more hours, get a promotion, start a side hustle, cut back on spending. That is what most people do, and it's exactly what keeps most people exactly where they are. Because the people with real generational wealth are not playing the same game. They're using a completely different set of rules. Rules never taught in school, never written in any personal finance book. Rules that only become visible once you reach a certain level and stay hidden from everyone below it. Today, I'm showing you those rules, level by level, dollar by dollar, from paycheck to paycheck, all the way to money that makes more money while you sleep. This is not motivation. This is how the wealth system actually works. You get paid on Friday. By Tuesday, the money is almost gone. Rent and groceries, gas, the credit card minimum that never seems to shrink. You're doing the math in your head every day. Can I afford this? Should I wait? What if something comes up? This isn't a failure of discipline. This is what 62% of Americans are living right now, according to a 2023 Financial Health Network report. More than 6 in 10 people in the wealthiest country in history are one unexpected bill away from a crisis. A $400 emergency would force most households to borrow, sell something, or skip another bill. Here's why this level is so hard to escape. Time and money move in the same direction. You trade hours for dollars. If you stop working, the dollars stop. The entire financial life here depends on one variable, your ability to keep showing up. And the system is designed to keep you spending, not saving. The average American household carries $6,000 in credit card debt at 21% interest. That's $1,260 a year just to carry the debt, not pay it down. Gone before you buy a single thing. Most people at this level don't know there are other levels. They think this is just how money works. It is not. Something important happens when you reach $10,000 in savings for the first time. The quiet background stress of money, the one that wakes you at 3 a.m., gets quieter. $10,000 is not wealth. It's a buffer. The difference between a $400 repair being an inconvenience instead of a catastrophe, a medical bill being manageable instead of 2 years of debt. But something else happens that almost nobody talks about. Your decision-making improves. Princeton researchers found the cognitive impact of financial stress equals losing 13 IQ points. When the buffer exists, that mental load lifts, and you think more clearly. $10,000 isn't the destination. It's the point where the game becomes possible to play clearly. Most people skip this step, jumping to investing or starting businesses before they've stabilized this one, and every unexpected expense sends them back to the beginning. Build the buffer first. That's the rule almost nobody teaches. At $50,000 in assets, savings, investments, retirement accounts combined, something quietly shifts. Loan interest rates drop. Credit limits increase without you asking. Your credit score unlocks different products, but the bigger shift is this. Compound interest stops being a concept and starts being real. Here's the math. $50,000 in a simple index fund at 8% a year, below the long-term U.S. market average, makes you $4,000 in a year doing nothing. While you slept. That's more than a month of minimum wage work, generated passively. At the first level, money only came from working. Here, money starts coming from having money, a completely different relationship with wealth. This is also where tax strategy starts to matter. Where you hold money, retirement account, taxable brokerage, health savings account, starts producing real differences in what you keep. The U.S. tax code has over 70,000 pages, and most of them contain strategies that only make sense once you have something to protect. At $50,000, you're just beginning to access the edges of that system. If your household net worth is $250,000 or above, you're in the top 15% of American households. That surprises people. $250,000 doesn't feel dramatic, but it's where the wealth game starts looking structurally different. At 8% annual return, $250,000 generates $20,000 a year, roughly $1,650 a month from investments alone, enough to cover more than half of living expenses in many American cities. Your money is now doing meaningful work without you, and other people start wanting to manage that money for you. But not all of that attention is in your interest. The financial services industry manages over $30 trillion and profits by taking a percentage of your money every year, whether your investments go up or down. A 1% management fee sounds small. On $250,000, that's $2,500 a year. Over 30 years with compounding, that fee cost you more than $200,000 in lost growth. At this level, knowing who to trust is as important as the investing itself. $1 million, the finish line in almost every casual money conversation. But here's the complicated truth. $1 million isn't what it used to be. In 1990, it had the purchasing power of roughly $2.3 million today. Inflation has quietly eroded what the number means. But structurally, it's still significant. At 8% average return, $1 million generates $80,000 a year before taxes, automatically. The U.S. median household income in 2023 was $74,580, meaning at $1 million invested, your money earns more than the average American family earns working all year. That's the real meaning of the $1 million mark. Not the number itself, but the fact that your assets now generate income that exceeds what most people earn with their labor. This is what financial independence actually means. Not that you never work again. Most people at this level keep working because they want to. The work becomes a choice, not a requirement. At $5 million, the conversation changes structurally. At 8% average return, $5 million generates $400,000 a year, $33,000 a month before tax optimization, from assets alone. At this level, you're no longer deciding how to earn more. You're deciding how to deploy capital, how to build structures that grow independently of you. This is where alternative investments open up. Most people invest in stocks and bonds, the public markets. At $5 million, you begin accessing private equity, ownership stakes in companies not publicly traded, private credit, lending directly to businesses at rates far above what banks offer, real estate syndications, pooling money with other high-net-worth investors to buy large commercial properties. These aren't available to the general public. The SEC requires you to be an accredited investor, meaning a net worth over $1 million excluding your home, or annual income over $200,000. Private equity has averaged roughly 14% annual returns over the last 20 years versus around 10% for the S&P 500. 4 percentage points doesn't sound like much. On $5 million over 20 years, it's the difference between $33 million and $61 million. At $25 million, you stop thinking about money as money and start thinking about it as infrastructure. Below this level, the goal was accumulation. Save more, grow the number. At $25 million, the goal shifts to structuring it, minimizing taxes, protecting against loss, passing it efficiently to the next generation. This is where family offices become relevant, a private company managing one family's finances, employing accountants, lawyers, tax strategists, and estate planners exclusively. Running one costs roughly $1 to $2 million a year, but the tax savings and investment access it provides typically far exceed that cost. The U.S. estate tax applies above a certain threshold when wealth passes to the next generation. In 2024, that's $13.6 million per individual. Above it, the tax rate is 40%. 40% gone in a single transfer. The wealthy don't simply accept this. They use irrevocable trusts, family-limited partnerships, and charitable remainder trusts. Dozens of legal structures designed to transfer wealth across generations while minimizing or eliminating that tax. Completely legal, written into the tax code, used by virtually every major wealthy family in America. Just not taught in any school. At $100 million, you're no longer a participant in the financial system. You're a node in it. Your decisions move markets. Your capital allocation creates jobs. At this level, wealth is measured by what you control, not what you spend or earn. In 2021, ProPublica obtained tax records from the wealthiest Americans and found the 25 wealthiest paid a true tax rate of just 3.4% between 2014 and 2018, not of their income, of the total wealth they accumulated. How? The tax code taxes income, not wealth. If your stock portfolio grows in value, you pay no tax until you sell. And if you never sell, you never pay. Meanwhile, you can borrow against that value using your portfolio as collateral and live on the borrowed money. Loans aren't income. Loans aren't taxed. This strategy is called buy, borrow, die, the mechanism by which the wealthiest families accumulate wealth across generations without ever triggering a meaningful tax event. Not illegal. The system working exactly as it was written to. Now let me bring this together. At the first level, money is time. You trade hours for dollars, and everything depends on showing up. At $50,000, money starts making money. At $1 million, your assets earn more than the average American earns from working. The safety net becomes permanent. At $5 million, doors open you didn't know existed. At $100 million, the rules that apply to everyone else stop applying to you, not because you broke them, but because the system was built with different rules for people at your level. The wealth system is not a ladder everyone climbs together. It's a series of separate games, each with different rules and outcomes, and you only learn the rules of the next game when you reach it. The person at the bottom isn't losing because they aren't trying hard enough. They're losing because they're playing a game designed to keep them spending instead of saving, paying interest instead of earning it. And the person at the top isn't winning because they're smarter. They're winning because they have access to a rulebook most people never see. The gap between the richest and poorest Americans is now at its widest point since the 1920s. The top 1% own more wealth than the entire bottom 50% combined. That did not happen by accident. That happened by design. And the first step to changing your position in that system is understanding how it actually works, not how it's described in a textbook or a bank ad. How it actually works. If this opened your eyes to something you never learned in school, share it with someone who needs to hear it. The rules aren't hidden because they're complicated. They're hidden because the system works better for certain people when everyone else doesn't know them. If you enjoy videos like this and want to see more fascinating topics, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications.